Hello, welcome to episode 10 of Are You Convinced? How you doing, Damon?
I've got a little bit of a throat infection. Sort of little headachy today, I'll be honest. But no, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
That was a bit of a letdown,
Oh,
Damon.
can you see what I did there?
Yeah,
Yay.
we overhyped it.
You did, and it didn't meet expectations. Also, episode 10, Jim.
Episode 10. How did we make that landmark? People
we
still...
didn't stop doing this.
We kept going.
We persisted.
We persisted despite the complaints. Please stop.
Despite the horrible notes your neighbours keep pinning to the door.
Can you guys shut up when you're recording? Like, we don't want to hear that.
Every Thursday night. Gosh.
But yeah, off the back of being episode 10, we wanted to poke a little fun at ourselves and talk about things that are overhyped and then
That's right.
turn out to be a bit of a letdown.
Like
our podcast.
Are people hyping us up?
I think so.
Are they?
Yeah, people are hyping our podcast up.
Well, you and I did tell a story, or you told me a story, and then we talked about it beforehand about how someone we know who listens to this
got recommended. It's like, okay.
She's at work and someone comes up to her and is like, "Have you heard this podcast?" And she's like, "Have I? I'm part of the OG original crew. I started listening before you even knew it was on YouTube," which, by the way, we are on YouTube.
Yeah,
also look us up on Instagram, Facebook, and anyway. So
You're on it.
I'm on it early. I won't forget this week.
But yeah, so I guess fortunately people have been listening. Crazily enough,
it's cool.
But we're not a letdown.
No,
we're doing all right.
This is doing exactly how I thought it would be by episode 10.
Just cruising. But this week we decided we would talk about overhyped letdowns, things that people sort of talked about, like went crazy for. You know, this is going to be insane. It's going to be great. And it just kind of was meh.
Yeah, there was
it might be like a personal thing, or it might be, like a real general sort of consensus. Everybody sort of thought, that didn't really live up to what we thought.
There's a lot of, you mentioned craziness and insanity. There's a lot of that in my topic.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of crazy in mine.
I'm very much looking forward to it, actually. It's a good one.
I hope I live up to the hype.
Yeah. Well, we have an excuse if our arguments are just rubbish and meh.
It was meant to be a letdown.
It was intentional.
It wasn't. It was never going to be good.
But sort of, I mean, we'll get into your topic soon, but your topic's sort of on a level of like almost end of the world proportions.
Yeah.
It was just going to be devastating. But off the back of that, I mean, we've had things like 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar.
I thought you meant the movie.
No, yeah, that too.
Who hyped that up? Who thought that was going to be good?
John Cusack's in it.
Oh, good. Yeah, you're right. Never mind. I've changed all my thoughts on that movie now because John Cusack's in it.
No, but the actual event, we're going past this. The event of 2012. Yeah. What was it, December 21st or something?
Can I tell you a funny story about where I was that day?
Please do. I love funny stories.
Oh, good. So, my girlfriend, third member of the podcast,
Can we get her in?
Yeah,
Will you come in sometime, please, if you're listening to this right now? I am talking to you. Yes, you're listening, and I want you to come on our podcast, please.
Yeah. Why have we avoided Nat? We've avoided using her name, but no, it's fine. I mean, let's just not say what she does or where she works or where she lives. But Nat, we'll get you on the podcast at some point.
Thank you. Looking forward to
it. So anyway, we were in New Zealand. I don't know why I thought so hard about that. I was just trying to make sure. We've been in New Zealand a couple of times, so I was trying to remember which trip and where exactly in New Zealand we were. But I remember staying in the hotel, and we flicked on the news because we were both dimly aware in the back of our minds, like, wasn't the world meant to end overnight? Oh, well, obviously it didn't. I didn't realize that it's not just the Mayan calendar. People had attributed their own wacko myths to this whole the world is ending thing, right? It seemed like all of them, according to this news report, were gathered in this field in France. And this international reporter was interviewing people about what happened last night. And a bunch of them just said, not a lot. We'll have to go back to the books. One guy, I'll never forget him for as long as I live. This one guy says, no, like very French. I won't do the accent. Unfortunately, not what we were expecting. But while I was watching the skies... Unfortunately, what did you hope was going to happen? He goes, I did see the spacecraft of the Virgin Mary. It did come and orbit. I know, that face you're pulling right now is exactly what Nat and I were both, and we're just staring at each other. Like, had that big Scooby-Doo moment of, what? The spacecraft of the Virgin Mary. This guy thought that the Virgin Mary was an alien.
Okay.
And she was going to come back down to Earth.
Explains a lot.
Sure. Immaculate Conception. Just... Yeah, Komodo dragons can do that.
Yeah, okay. Immaculately conceived.
Yeah, it's called parthenogenesis.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's nothing funny or interesting in that.
Fascinating.
Anyway.
We've learnt things.
Yeah. Shall we push on?
Yes.
So, anyway, crazy guys in fields thinking the world was going to end, and he was disappointed it didn't.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there probably would have been so many people that stocked up, went to buy canned food, built bunkers, and
joined religions.
How would you feel going into your bunker and then you kind of like find out? Do you reckon there's still people down there?
I don't want to step on the toes of what I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
So I'll come back to that very thing.
That's just fascinated me, the idea that maybe somebody's gone into a bunker just before the end of the world in 2012, doesn't have TV, doesn't have radio down there.
What's that movie with the mummy in it? Brendan Fraser?
The Mummy?
Yeah, he was in that, yes, but he was in he wasn't even the mummy in that. He was O'Connell. So there was a movie that had O'Connell. I'm confusing myself now. Brendan Fraser was in a movie once.
Yes.
And
once.
A few times. Once upon a time. No, incorrect. Common myth. He was only in one.
And then they've digitally inserted him into other movies.
Okay, so talk about major letdowns. This is going nowhere.
The story is not happening.
He was in a movie where he and his family were in a bunker from the 50s. They thought nuclear war had happened, and I think his mum or dad gets sick when he's like 30 years old, so he goes up to the surface.
Okay.
And it's all about him in
Encino Man or something? Is that the one?
No, that's the one with the caveman. That's
I don't know.
Pauly Shore. The weasel. The most annoying
I don't
man
know.
alive.
I don't think I've seen the movie you're talking about, but I knew there was a movie where he's just kind of like fish out of water type. Yeah.
Oh, no, he is in Encino Man, I'm sorry. That's right. Or at least his CGI created likeness is in Encino Man. Can we start that rumor?
That Brendan Fraser was only in one movie?
One movie, yeah. And it was not The Mummy, the second Mummy.
Okay.
All right. He wasn't even in the first one.
He said, I'll come in and do the second one. You got my likeness a little bit off in the first. So.
That's right. Yeah, I wasn't quite. You made me look fatter than I really was. And then he comes back. Yeah, actually, he was fatter in the second one.
Are you convinced?
Are you convinced? Brendan Fraser's never been in more than two
one
movies.
Movie, yeah.
What are we talking about? You did want to talk about a few movies, though, while we're on this topic. And I did too, but...
Overhyped letdowns, it can often happen with things like films and TV shows where people will go see it, obviously, before you do. And they go, oh my God, I won't tell you anything, but it's amazing. You have to go see it. It's so good. It's so funny. I
love that. Great. I love that line of, I don't want to tell you anything, as they're bouncing up and down in their chair going, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say what it's like. But oh my God, it's amazing.
That happened to me with The Hangover, actually.
Yeah.
You probably remember. A lot of people went to see that movie.
Loved it.
So funny. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's fantastic. You have to go see it. So I went, yeah, sure, I'll go see it. It was amusing.
Sure.
But I guess everybody had hyped it up to that level where I was like, that's not as funny to me now as you had made it out to be.
Honestly,
I enjoy the movie now.
Because it's comedy gold. I think looking back on it, think about it. Like, what movies before or roughly during that time were anything like that style of comedy? That stood out. Like, that was smart and yet juvenile. It wasn't...
I think it sort of led to a bit more of a wave, didn't it?
It did.
Little period for about 4 or 5 years there.
Yeah.
Like, you're super bad and...
Yeah, Superbad was another thing altogether. That was incredible. I only saw that recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I know. I was watching it going, this is like touchstone of comedy. This is like one of the 4 pillars of great comedy. How have I not seen this movie? It's hilarious.
Written by, Seth Rogen, who was supposed to be the Jonah Hill character.
That's right. Yeah, he's way too old.
Yeah. I think Bill Hader was supposed to be McLovin.
Okay, no, I'm happy with the casting.
So just because it took them so long to make the movie,
really,
that they were too old to do it.
Is that why they're the cops in it then?
Yeah, exactly. Right,
I like that. Yeah. Now you've written down a movie here.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, Hangover was really overhyped for me, and I've been conscious of this sort of ever since. I don't want to overhype movies for people because I think it does ruin it. You can, if you go in with a blank slate, an open mind, you just go, I don't know what to expect, and it's hilarious. Then you go, that's fantastic for yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go into a movie expecting it to be hilarious and perhaps it doesn't quite get to where your expectation was.
That's right, yeah.
Even if it is good, you maybe
it's let down.
Better.
Yeah,
you're let down.
Good's not enough when you're expecting perfection. When you're expecting most amazing. Yeah.
So last year, 2016, February 2016. Deadpool.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was last year.
Yeah. So Deadpool came out, and everybody, I think there were quite a few people I know were on Facebook going, this movie's amazing, so hilarious, so fantastic. And I went to see it, and I absolutely loved it.
Yep.
But I consciously told people, like, look, just ignore what everybody's saying.
Yep. Just go see it.
Just go see it. It was an enjoyable movie. Go see it for yourself.
Yep.
And I think that's a better way to go about it.
I think so.
Oversell it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think you're just going to be disappointed in the end.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Speaking of overhyped movies, and it feels like the movie industry at the moment is all hype and spin and teaser trailers
It really is. And then you get a teaser, like a preview for the teaser trailer.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be a teaser trailer tomorrow. Yeah. Get hyped.
Here's 2 seconds of here's a 2-second Instagram boomerang of what's going to be in the teaser trailer tomorrow.
Chris Pratt patting a dinosaur.
Yeah, you wanted to bring that up, didn't you? Yeah.
The CGI looks so bad.
I've got to watch it back again. We're talking about the Jurassic World 2 too long a title. What's it called?
The Fallen Kingdom.
The Fallen Kingdom. Too long. Yeah. Too long. It's clunky and awful.
Just Jurassic World 2.
Jurassic World Evolution. Jurassic World Extinction. Yeah. Jurassic World 2. Yeah. Jurassic World, the second one.
Fortunately, they didn't go for like Jurassic Park 5, Jurassic World 2, The Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, that's how they could have gone. Yeah. No, this is that's not what I was going to bring up, but I was going to say we've got 2 movie juggernauts at the moment, which is DC and Marvel.
Yes.
And my God, I mean, the hype around any movie coming out now from those guys, and Star Wars, I should say as well. Yeah. So there's 3. The hype upcoming for those is just astounding. And the amount of letdown that I know some people had, we've got a friend who despised The Force Awakens.
Yes.
Still hates it to this day. To the point where he's nervous about seeing the next one.
To each their own, I guess.
Each their own, but that hype, that massive build-up, I think makes movies suffer. I think every DC movie has suffered from the hype.
I have quite a few friends that purposely say, like, I maybe watch one teaser and then the first trailer, and then I completely avoid the second trailer or the last trailer because that gives too much away, and I just
probably sane. I think that's a very sane thing to do.
Yeah.
Another movie that I've not seen. Pretty sure you have. I hope you've seen this one.
Okay.
Because I asked you if we can talk about this one, and I didn't check and see if you had. But Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Yeah. Okay.
Roundly regarded as one of the biggest letdowns in cinematic history.
It wasn't a triumphant return for Indiana Jones.
One of the most beloved characters ever.
Yeah.
From one of the most beloved film franchises ever.
You know, starring, beloved actor and beloved film director.
Yeah. Now starring Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Because
he was big at the time.
Yeah. I never liked him.
No.
Even when he was popular, I never saw the appeal.
Yeah, so for me, it was an enjoyable enough film, but it didn't quite... Yeah, it didn't live up to what Indiana Jones should have been. It was a clever idea, you know, going back to still allow Harrison Ford to play this role.
That's a good idea.
It's been 20 years or something crazy like that, and it goes back as an older character.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I think that might have been a flaw in terms of the time setting, the time period. Now, obviously, had to jump ahead.
Okay.
Whereas it was a bit more fun being in sort of those 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, 40s.
Yeah, because it was actual Nazis.
Yeah.
Not Russian Nazis or whatever Kate Blanchett was trying to be.
Yeah, it was a bit weird. But, so yeah, that didn't quite live up to the Indiana Jones name, I think.
Can I give you a really weird example of this? A bit of a flipped inverse? Well, I'm going to. So the original Star Wars came out with no hype. It's like zero hype.
There was no other Star Wars before that to get you hyped, you know?
But like even George Lucas thought it wasn't going to happen because they were like bankrupt and also had no money, and it was a disaster of filmmaking.
People just didn't really believe in the production.
And they just said, get it out. Like the actual story behind it is the production company just went, release it. For God's sake, we're done. Get it out there. Became the biggest thing ever.
Yeah.
The prequels. Do you remember the hype around the prequels? Do you remember the excitement that was built around the Phantom Menace?
Insane.
That hype, I reckon, lasted for 2 years after the movie came out.
It's still, I was actually going to say that. Like, I've watched YouTube videos recently of people that were interviewed after having seen it, and they're just all dressed.
I loved it. Oh my God, it was
that was so great. And then
so
those
same fun.
People now are probably just going, you know what?
I regret that.
I regret saying that.
I regret that interview. There was one guy, because I've seen the same videos, one guy straight afterwards who walked out, and I'll never forget it. He goes, I think George Lucas owes me a personal apology.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Wow, I know, right? And I think we'd all agree with that guy now. But yeah,
I was at the prime age, I think, when those movies came out.
Oh, we were.
Yeah.
I collected all of I remember in Australia we had chip packets, a chip brand. You bought a chip packet and inside was a little card, and you peeled off the top layer, and then it was a scratchy thing, and you can win another packet of chips.
Oh, yeah.
I just continuously won new packs of chips and collected all of those cards.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Got all the toys. The coolest ones was some came with little dog tag lanyards. I don't know if you remember those. And you could hold it over... like a voice transmitter thing, and it spoke, and you could actually have them. And then the movie came out, and it sucked. It's just the worst. But that weirdly hype sometimes can last
even beyond
the event. Yeah, beyond the letdown. It's a bit strange. All right. Well, look, we've talked about movies. We've talked about the world starting to end and not ending.
Do you want to talk about some sport, maybe, Damon?
Oh, God, I didn't think this is when you were going to bring this up.
Overhyped letdowns.
Yeah.
Anything get overhyped this year and in sport? And
No, not at all. No. And
What's that you're wearing, Damon?
Shut up, James. I certainly didn't overhype anything. So I barracked for the Adelaide Crows. We finished top on the ladder this year. We made it all the way through to the grand final. We were the favourites going into the grand final.
Tip to win.
Most thought we were unbeatable. Turns out that wasn't true. Turns out we were very beatable on the day. And we lost quite badly. This is after that same friend of ours that hated The Force Awakens. And I hope he's listening now because I still blame him. Not quietly, loudly. I blame him loudly. Walking around in the morning just going, I'm so confident. It's fine. I'm going to win. If barracking for the New England Patriots in the NFL has taught me anything, that's right, Adrian. Yeah, I'm going this deep. Yeah. If barracking for the New England Patriots has taught me anything, is that if you're the better team and you go in as the better team on the day, you're more than likely to win. Shut up, Adrian. So I'm wearing my Crows shirt now as sort of testament to
the overhyped letdown.
My biggest overhyped letdown of this year.
Sorry, Adrian. I still like you. I don't blame you.
You're fine, man. I'm still a bit bitter and sore.
Well, yeah. I mean, shall we? Well, let's not overhype this anymore.
Let's build it up more. Let's get a teaser campaign for your argument.
All right, everybody, stay tuned for the next half hour. It's going to be incredible. You won't believe what happens next.
Can I do a quick teaser trailer for you? Coming up in the next 30 seconds. So basically, I find the argument to end all arguments. No way, James. Do you really think that? Does it sound like a teaser trailer?
We'll have to.
We'll edit it together in post later, won't we?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I see what you're going for. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's better than you.
All right. Well, buckle your seatbelts, folks. It's about to get crazy.
Cowabunga, dude.
Wow. Okay. Well, so
what are you talking about again?
All right. Well, I'm a big fan of Nintendo. Okay, with the exception of the Super Nintendo, I've owned like every console and handheld they've released. I had an original Nintendo, got a Nintendo 64 for Christmas, good times. And then I started to have money. I could buy a GameCube, a Wii U, like DS, Game Boy, everything.
What was wrong with the 64?
You mean Super Nintendo?
Yes.
I didn't not intentionally own it. We just never got one.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm with you.
Other than that, I wish I did.
Was it that weird parenting thing where they go, you've already got a game console?
I think we got a Mega Drive, Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, we had a Sega.
Yeah.
We had Alex the Kid, Sonic the Hedgehog.
But it's cool. I had some friends nearby. I got to play all the Super Nintendo games at their house.
Cool.
So good times. When you could go to like Blockbuster and hire games for a few dollars and you'd play them for a week and return it.
I'm going to bring up Blockbuster in mine later.
Oh, brilliant.
I know. Blockbuster's got
Nobody
two
talks
shout-outs.
about Blockbuster
no
anymore.
one
Why
mentions
is
Blockbuster. Because there are none.
Oh, okay.
They passed up on Netflix.
So, I mean, I have a very, very fond memories of playing so many of the games, like Mario, Legend of Zelda, Pokemon, Metroid, Super Smash Brothers. I'll probably continue to play their consoles and games well into the future.
Nerd!
But, like the past year, Nintendo has released a few games which people have raved about, but personally, I found them to be a bit lackluster. I mean, you had Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Thank you.
Which we talked about in our Pokemon episode.
Worst Pokemon ever.
You should go back and listen to that if you're keen on Pokemon.
But avoid the games.
Yeah.
Don't play those games.
Apparently, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is exactly the same
for
the first 3 quarters, and then the post games, they added some extra stuff.
Oh, I can't wait.
Super Mario Odyssey actually just came out, I think, earlier this month.
Mm-hmm.
I found it to be incredibly easy for the most part. Your objective is to perform challenges or solve puzzles to collect moons, but the moons are so frequent that there's barely a sense of an accomplishment in doing so. You stumble across half of them, and it's like, okay. Whereas, like the Nintendo 64 Super Mario Brothers, you had to like climb a massive mountain, and there was enemies the whole way up, and then you had to defeat this boss on top, and then you got a star. It's like, that took effort, you know?
Yeah, sure. I feel like I've earned that star.
But there's another game that I want to talk about. I hope I don't get too much hate for this. It's probably a very controversial opinion here.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm pretty sure we've already burned our bridges there because Pokemon Sun and Moon are very popular games.
I don't understand.
Alarmingly popular, and we've ragged on them. Like we have not been gentle in our thoughts on those two. So
am I so out of touch?
No,
it's the children who are wrong.
Up yours, children.
But yeah, so there's another game I want to talk about. I felt it was incredibly hyped up. But for me, ultimately, it just felt just a little bit flat.
Okay.
And that game is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Dun, dun,
You
dun.
can't talk bad about Zelda.
So
that guy with the green pointy hat and the sword, Zelda, he's so cool.
you know that you're doing that intentionally, right?
Doing what?
So pressing on. Firstly, I want to make it clear, this game, it's not a bad game. I did enjoy it, but as a long-time fan of the series, in the end, it didn't quite live up to what I had come to expect from these games. Changes to the formula may have been intended to mix things up a bit, but for me, it's a case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going to try to convince you that this game was overhyped and it could have been better. And I understand you've never really played any Legend of Zelda games. That's correct.
No, I've been told repeatedly by anyone that'll get me to stand still for long enough that Ocarina of Time might be the greatest video game.
Yeah.
ever.
Well, so what I'm going to do, I thought first I'll give you a brief rundown of the history. I'll hype the hell out of Breath of the Wild.
Oh, great, good.
Before
Okay.
I rip it all down of what just didn't work for me.
Are you going to make me play it?
No.
Oh.
Well, we could.
Nah.
No. Okay.
Sorry, mate.
Sorry if you got excited there, folks.
No, I'm into sports. I don't play video games.
So The Legend of Zelda, it's a series of fantasy action-adventure games, occasionally with a slight RPG element. The games follow Link, usually in his attempts to save the Princess Zelda and the Kingdom of Hyrule from the evil Ganondorf.
Wait, sorry. What, so...
Link's the green-hatted character and Zelda's the princess. Yeah.
Why is it called Zelda?
Because it's The Legend of Zelda, the princess.
Oh, that's lame.
So the series was created by Shigeru Miyamoto.
Yes, I'm doing this intentionally. Yes, I know what I'm doing. Stop looking at me like that.
The series was created by Shigeru Miyamoto and Takashi Tezuka. I'll get that.
That'll do. That wasn't English, so it's okay that you got that
With
wrong.
the original Legend of Zelda game being released in 1986 for the NES. So 31 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost as old as we are.
Really? Yeah. Yes.
Older.
Since 1986, there's been a total of 19 games released in total for the various Nintendo consoles, as well as a number of spin-off games. The franchise is one of Nintendo's most successful, selling over 80 million copies total as of this year.
Wow.
So the gameplay involves puzzles, exploration, and real-time sort of hack-and-slash style combat.
Cool.
Games involve rich and emotional storytelling and beautiful, rousing soundtracks. As Link, you travel across the land, working your way to acquire the power, skills, and equipment necessary to defeat the evil that is plaguing the world. This quest usually involves locating a number of dungeons throughout the game. Often these dungeons are themed, with some of the common themed dungeons appearing in many of the games, such as a fire dungeon or a water dungeon or a forest dungeon. Inside these dungeons, you have to solve a number of puzzles to progress. You'll usually acquire a new weapon or item, which will not only aid you in completing the dungeon, but also grant you access to new areas in the overworld. For example, the bow can be used to fire arrows at distant switches, which unlock new pathways. You can spend hours playing through a dungeon, trying to solve all the puzzles, exploring every room and acquiring all the treasures. It's a challenge, you know. You're filled with this huge sense of accomplishment when you finally manage to navigate your way through. Then at the end of the dungeon, you'll have to do battle with a powerful monster. The monster has usually taken hold of the dungeon, corrupting it and the surrounding area. By defeating the monster, you'll break its curse, but you're also rewarded with a stone or a medallion or some other sort of evidence of your victory, which will aid you in your quest.
Love a medallion.
Yeah.
Love
Who doesn't
me a
love
good
a medallion?
I would have liked a bunch of Crows players to have been given some sort of a medallion or a medal at the end of that game, but they didn't play well enough. So, sorry, you're talking about...
So an example of this in the highly praised Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, the 3 spiritual stones are earned by defeating monsters from 3 different dungeons. They act as keys, which together unlock the Temple of Time, where the Master Sword is sealed away. Now, the Master Sword is known as the Blade of Evil's Bane. It appears in many of the games and is said to be the only weapon capable of defeating Ganondorf. So this is something you want. So you've now got to go get these 3 stones to...
What's a Ganondorf?
Ganondorf's the usual protagonist most of the time. Antagonist, sorry.
Okay.
Usual villain.
Is he just a guy, or is he like a wizard or a dragon?
He was raised by a tribe of thieves, and then he decides he wants to take over the world, and
doesn't sound that scary.
He looks pretty scary most of the time.
All
He's
right.
a big, bulking, evil sorcerer guy. Yeah, he does have magic.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
Probably one of the only real issues, and I use issues loosely, with the exception of the original Legend of Zelda on the NES, most of the games are quite linear. So you have to visit towns and dungeons in more or less a set order. You need bombs before you can get to the place where you find the bow, which you need before you can go to where the grappling hook is.
Okay, yeah. You know? So Pokemon works to a similar.
Yeah.
Before you can go to this town, you've got to get Surf, and to get Surf to work, you've got to beat this gym leader. But
exactly.
to beat the gym leader, you need a certain type of Pokemon. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so certain areas are kind of locked for a time period, and that sort of keeps the story somewhat linear.
Yeah. If you're going to win a grand final, you need a key full forward, you need a decent centre half back, and a good full back. And once you've got all those things, your spine's complete. If you've got a good ruckman as well, if your ruckman's on game, then you can palm it down. I'm not over it. We had all those things. We had the good full forward, the good full back. Sorry, go on.
Everybody write in and offer your condolences to Damon for something that happened,
bother.
3 months ago?
I'm fine. I'm clearly over it. I'm okay.
So Breath of the Wild bucked this trend. The game is the most recent title in the series and was released for the Wii U and Nintendo's newest console, the Switch, back in March of this year. It features a massive open-world environment. The figures I found put it at about 61 square kilometers.
Wow.
That's 1.5 times as big as Skyrim.
How big's the game console?
The console's tiny.
Sorry. Never mind.
No. So
where do they fit it all?
I don't know if you've ever played Skyrim, but
no,
that was massive. And I was actually surprised. I thought Skyrim was bigger, but this map is 1.5 times bigger than Skyrim. And Skyrim would have been a massive influence on this game. You could see it's very evident.
Such an idiot. I thought it was Skyrim.
Skyrim.
It's
literally Skyrim. Sorry, I won't.
Yeah, go on.
Anyways,
I'm a noob.
And it's about 20 square kilometers shy of the GTA 5 map. So it's
okay. Yeah,
pretty massive.
Yeah, and that's like Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this map is colossal, which is just unheard of in the Zelda franchise.
Right.
Almost from the get-go, you're given the freedom to go wherever you want if you're persistent enough. There are some minor exceptions, such as you need suitable clothing to remain in extremely hot, cold, or arid environments.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can actually go find a snow-covered mountain and start climbing. But you'll be told you're freezing right now, so you'll see visibly you'll be shivering.
I like that.
So you can only get so far before you're like, yeah, I'm losing health now. I'm dying because it's so cold.
That's very cool.
But again, if you're persistent enough, you could maybe find a way to push through.
Sure.
But you can run, you can swim, climb up cliff faces, and paraglide from heights as long as your stamina holds out. If you wanted to, you could start the game and go straight to the final boss. But getting there and being victorious would be an incredible challenge if you haven't expanded your skills and arsenal.
Sure.
The game also features impressive physics and chemistry engines. Elements of the environment will usually react in logical ways, swinging a flaming torch around, and you might start a grass fire that quickly gets out of control.
See, that's no laughing matter.
Yeah.
So Link's running around starting bushfires. Yeah. You got to be bushfire aware.
So trees can be cut down, and the logs can actually be moved in position and used as makeshift bridges.
I don't know why I haven't, because this is all sounding exactly like what I enjoy in a video game.
Yeah. When it's raining, cliff faces become slippery and practically impossible to climb. Metallic weapons will act as lightning rods in a storm, forcing you to switch to wooden clubs.
So you can actually get zapped if you pull your sword out.
Lightning strikes.
That's crazy cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
And speaking of rain, so cooking is a major component of this game. But try keeping your campfire going in a downpour.
Oh.
You know?
Oh. I have.
Okay.
It's not easy.
Not fun.
No. I've been huddled under a tree before, trying to get some sort of a gas cooker.
So you can live that through this game. Relive that moment.
It wasn't much fun anyway.
So in previous titles, hearts to replenish health could be found by defeating enemies, cutting grass, breaking
cutting their actual heart out?
No, not actual. It's a representation of acquiring health. You'd find hearts around.
Not gonna lie, slightly disappointed with that revelation.
So like in a shooting game, you'd find a health pack, like a med kit. Yeah. So that's how you replenish health.
Yep.
In Breath of the Wild, you actually need to gather food. So you can collect fruit and herbs and spices, as well as hunt the wildlife. So foxes, deer, birds, fish, wild boar. And they all have really clever AI. They flee, or they'll even attack you if you get too close. The wild boar go crazy, I'm pretty sure, as I remember. Making the hunt challenging and realistic.
Cool.
Many of these ingredients can be eaten raw to restore health and stamina, but throw some ingredients together over a fire and the resulting dishes are often even more replenishing. Some ingredients, including bones, horns, and guts recovered from monsters, can be mixed together to create elixirs, providing special bonuses. There's one elixir that makes you run faster. So it's sort of like making magic potions.
So this is, I mean, my thinking of Zelda is that it's always just been, in my head, some weird side-scroller thing that's not that engaging. This is sounding like a Far Cry game.
This is very close. Breath of the Wild specifically is very, very close to that.
There you go.
Unlike previous games, which had a selection of weapons, like a set selection, Breath of the Wild has a vast array of swords, clubs, axes, hammers, and bows for you to choose from. Sometimes you'll find these in chests. You can steal them from enemy camps.
Cool.
You can kill an enemy or knock the weapon from their hands and take it. You like a particular axe, you can keep 5 of them in your inventory.
I like that axe.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
This is my axe.
The scope of this game is massive, so you could easily get lost in the tiny details of it. Upon release, it received universal critical acclaim, perfect or near perfect scores from many review websites and magazines, and numerous awards.
Wow.
It has been heralded as one of the greatest games of all time.
Okay. And then the sequel.
So now that I've hopefully captured for you how awesome this game sounds.
You've made me want to play it. Yeah. I'm convinced.
That's not what I was convincing you.
Oh, okay. Well, then.
So I'm going to go into where it fell short.
Get into it,
for
James.
me.
Hurry
All right.
up.
Cooking is super boring. Okay. You have to cycle through the menus to pick out the ingredients. The best recipes usually require a full 5 ingredients, and there's no recipe book. So if you figured out something really awesome that works, you just kind of have to throw stuff randomly together and see what works, see what happens. If you get like a perfect recipe that works really well, covers like 10 hearts, you got to make your own notes. There's no way to really keep a record of that.
It's too much work.
And
this is meant to be escapism.
You have to sit through a little cutscene as your meal cooks.
Oh.
So preparing a lot of meals can be a long and tedious process. And because hearts have now been completely abolished in this game, you don't find them in the grass or wherever, or, you need to stop and do meal prep. Before you go out questing, you have to cook up meals.
I'm a little bit happy now because I'm thinking, okay, where's he going with the cooking thing? Like, that sounds like a cool, interesting sort of feature of the game, but no, it's a mandatory, boring, long...
So, previously I could be fighting enemies and just hack at some nearby grass or what have you, and maybe find some hearts.
Great.
And if I was desperate, I could open the menu and drink a potion. But otherwise, things kept flowing.
Sure.
Now in Breath of the Wild, you have to stop, pause the game, and eat if your health is running low.
Oh, God.
And with some enemies being incredibly hard-hitting in this game, this can be a frequent occurrence. I think the cooking mechanic could have been a great supplement to regular hearts.
Yeah.
But on its own, it just slows things down and disrupts the action. Another frustration...
You are visibly frustrated here. I love this.
Weapons break, okay? After extended use through wear and tear, your weapons just break.
This sounds like you're explaining this to like your child or something. That's just, son, sometimes weapons break. Sometimes, pets run away. Sometimes grandma dies.
But yeah, so the weapons breaking can lead to some tense moments in combat when you find yourself suddenly unequipped. But then once again, you have to pause the game to select a new weapon. And not only that, but when it breaks, it's gone. The weapon's gone, okay? So if you have a favorite weapon, you might be wary of using it because you haven't found another one and you don't want to lose it.
Even if I delete things on my computer, I can go to the trash, for God's sake.
That's like, it's kind of the opposite of how that should go.
Yeah.
You should be able to use your favorite weapons, without fear of losing it.
Sure.
If they wanted to insist on having perishable weapons, a much better way to handle this would be to leave the shattered fragments in your inventory. Then you go to the village,
you rebuild
see the local blacksmith, he repairs your trusty axe, for a fee, of course.
Right. Well, in Pokemon, your Pokemon don't just friggin' die unless it's Gary's Raticate.
Imagine if that happened, yeah. Like, you just be like, I've dedicated it. You would be so frustrated. There would be so many people.
Livid.
You'd save before every single battle, and you just start fighting a youngster.
I just never play the game again. Like, what's the point of me putting together this awesome team of 6 Pokemon? Yeah. Oh, you'd never get an awesome team.
You know the fisherman that has 6 Magikarp? You would save before battling him.
Yeah, even though they only know Splash.
So like I mentioned, this game has a massive overworld, and one of the key ways to explore it is by climbing. But one of the biggest complaints, even people that love this game, one of the biggest complaints that fans have had is that almost any time you need to climb something, it starts raining. It's like Murphy's Law. So not only does it make it difficult to climb, it's nigh impossible.
Sure.
I mean, the game has special climbing attire. It doesn't even provide increased grip. It's only to increase your climbing speed.
Right.
So you can climb faster.
Okay.
So you're forced to either find another way around, which isn't always possible, or wait out the weather. And for a game that wants to put so much emphasis on exploration, this is nothing but a completely awful and infuriating hindrance. And my biggest gripe with this game...
James, calm down.
You had Iron Man 3. This is me, okay? This is my thing.
Yeah, fair point.
My biggest gripe with this game is how they've approached the dungeons. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't played the games, this is getting into sort of the core story. If
you've listened up to this point and you still want to play the games, maybe
but
switch off.
I'm getting into sort of core story. This is a level that could spoil the game for you. So if you don't want that spoil, just skip a bit.
Don't worry, I'm never going to play this.
So it's common for Zelda games to feature around 8 to 10 dungeons. Ocarina of Time features 8 main dungeons, 2 sub-dungeons, and then the final boss lair. Breath of the Wild has 4. It's a massive world, so many places you could hide entryways to fantastic and challenging dungeons, but we got 4. And these dungeons aren't even host to an awesome new weapon or item to help you reach new, previously inaccessible areas. Not only that, but they're terribly watered down. I mentioned that often you find yourself in a dungeon for hours trying to crack all these puzzles. In Breath of the Wild, they've ripped out most of the puzzles, making the dungeon itself one big puzzle that you have to move into just the right position to get into the final boss. To try to make up for this, the developers have put shrines throughout the map, which act as puzzle rooms. I think there's maybe like 100, 120 just scattered over the whole map, so you have to find them first and then go in. Each of these shrines features a single puzzle to solve, or in some cases it's just an enemy battle, after which you're rewarded with a spirit orb. You then take these orbs to another location, trade 4 of them for either a permanent health or stamina increase.
Might as well be a pat on the back.
You know,
there are cheat codes for that sort of stuff.
So it just doesn't match that sense of accomplishment after spending hours working your way, trying to figure out how to get through a single dungeon because there's just countless puzzles to solve. Additionally, getting to and conquering the 4 dungeons really makes up the bulk of the story. And it just doesn't feel as tight. Because of the freedom of choice that the game gives you, the story has to be a bit vague at times. Characters can't reference accomplishments that you made earlier in the game because you may not have made them yet. You know, you may not have gone to that town or that place.
Right.
So they can't talk about that. Like in previous games, they say, you know, I remember when I met you here earlier in the game.
Right,
and we talked,
okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So they just can't do that. It makes the story, it just doesn't feel as tight.
I can see how that would definitely take you out of the game experience too.
So they just have to be sort of open-ended in their conversation. Like, can't really reference anything that's happened already, which it may not have. The game provides a multitude of side quests and collecting-based completionist challenges to flesh things out, but this doesn't really make up for the thin core story. One such challenge is to locate so there's a species in the games called a Korok. You have to locate every one of these in the game to receive a seed. Each one gives you a seed, and these seeds can be traded to expand your inventory capacity.
Right.
There are 900 of them.
Hey?
900 Koroks in the game to find.
How the hell are you meant to track down all
So,
of them?
side quests are all well and good, but I want them to complement the core
Didn't
story.
you say like the size of this thing you can move around in, it's like the size of Adelaide or something?
61 square kilometers,
Oh,
okay?
I couldn't tell.
There are 900 of these things somewhere in the game.
Good
Some of
God.
them are easier to find than others.
Yeah.
I want the side quests to complement the core story. I don't want to have to go miles and miles off of my course.
No.
I mean, every now and again, you just kind of go, you know, like a regular game, you go, okay, I'm traveling to this town. Oh, I'm going past there. I might as well duck in and do that little portion of the side quest.
Yeah. Yes, I'll talk to that lady. Yes,
You know?
I'll save your goat.
Like I was already
You
sort
bring
of going...
back the goat, she gives you a speed increase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
I was already sort of going in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not my 900 beasts are missing. Lady, you're on your own.
I finished the main story, and like if I had maybe 50 Koroks left to find, I'd be like, yeah, cool, no worries, I'll complete the game. I'll 100% it, whatever. It's too much effort and not enough reward to go hunting for however many I have left out of 900.
Listeners, James is waving his arms around. He's like leaning on the table. He's a very interesting shade of red right now. I imagine maybe I did look a bit like this during the Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, go on. Sorry.
It's not enough to keep me playing on.
Yep.
The game is it's impressive and beautiful in many ways. Don't get me wrong. But as a long-time fan of the series, I feel like they tried to bring in some drastic changes, which just they weren't necessary, and the resulting game wasn't nearly as satisfying for me as previous titles. It's a tough one because you're not a fan of the series. But are you convinced? Does this sound like it would have been a massive letdown had you been invested as I am?
Yeah. Okay. That phrasing in that argument, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything you've just talked about, Ocarina.
Yep.
I really should go and play that.
You should.
I should find
That's
an
great.
emulator or something and play it, because I've not heard a single person that's played it or that should know that hasn't described it as incredible. So just for that reason, it's kind of like I should also go and watch Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I really should just appreciate the quality. And if I was invested and what you just described to me was what you got, yeah, I'd be annoyed. Yeah. I'm going to go back there. Pokemon Sun and Moon. When you're talking about there's only 4 dungeons.
Yeah.
And there's
4 gyms equivalent.
They're not even gyms, for God's sake.
We did this already back in episode 8. Go back, check
it out, listen to it. Yeah, you hate us all you want. We haven't got any hate mail yet. Bring it on. We'll fight you. Okay.
Your turn, Damon.
Well, okay.
Let me down. Disappoint me.
Well, James, I don't have to, because my event has already let us all down. It happened quite a while ago. Yeah. You stood there and ranted and raved about a video game. I'm going to talk about a time we all thought the world could end.
Excellent.
Yes. On December 31st of 1999, most of us were...
like it's 1999.
Rest in peace, Prince, you beautiful bastard. On December 31st of 1999, most of us were gearing up towards celebrating a new millennium. However, not all were looking forward to the changeover. Many were working tirelessly into the night, preparing for the world to end. These brave men and women had not just started that night. They'd been preparing for disaster for months, some of them years. These incredible individuals were ready for what could have been the collapse of civilization. That's right, they were IT professionals. And they stopped the apocalypse.
Did they?
Well, no, I'll go into it. No, they didn't really. But the next line in my script actually reads, or maybe not. So I am talking about Y2K, or the Millennium Bug.
Y2K? Well, Why not?
Why not? Well, why not is because planes could have fallen out of the sky, Jim.
They could have.
Spoiler alert, no, it didn't. It didn't happen. This is an odd one because both of us remember this.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this because you did tell me this was your pitch.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, there are people that are about to be able to start drinking legally.
Right, yeah.
That just missed all of this.
Yeah, they've got no idea that people were seriously hanging out for New Year's Eve wondering if the world would just stop. If
their watches were going to stop working altogether, and they just wouldn't know time.
It was a really serious thing. Like we were genuinely terrified of computers not working into the year 2000. I know it's baffling, and we look back on it now and just go, "Gosh, we were silly back then."
I mean, there was some reasoning behind it, though. It wasn't just crazy.
Well, okay. Yeah. So yes, the reasoning behind all of this fear. If I can go back to my script, the Y2K fear, or Millennium Bug, as we also called it, was a massive cause for panic and fear during our childhood, with many fearing the consequences of the date change in the computing systems. Basically, computer systems had all been designed to read dates in a simple yet remarkably lazy and effective way. In a Time magazine article from December 2014, Howard... Oh, no. You know how we always say I get the good names? Howard Shui Yuan. Howard Shui Yuan.
Do you want me to come over there and have a go?
No. Oh, yeah, come on. Let's have a look. Howard Shui Yuan. Howard Shui Yuan. Assistant editor to the magazine during the harrowing late 90s. That was just
harrowing.
Harrowing, the fashion.
It was rough. We didn't know if Ross and Rachel were going to make it.
I mean, they were on a break, though.
Yeah, they were on a break.
She did say, well, let's take a break.
Yeah.
From us. Like, she meant, let's not be in a relationship for a bit.
That's what it means. That's what I took it to mean.
Well, that's what Ross took it to mean, too.
Yeah.
Does that mean he's a bad guy?
No.
Also, like, are we ever going to see Ben again? Like, he pops up in an episode every now and then we just don't see him
There's a theory about that, actually.
Is there?
Maybe
Okay.
we should do a Friends episode.
We are going to do a Friends episode. You and I could talk for hours on Friends. The hell was I talking about? Howard Schweerwan, assistant editor to the magazine Time during the harrowing late 90s, describes why this mundane detail could have been a massive issue. So the bug at the center of the year 2000 mess is fairly simple, one says. Many system programmers set aside only 2 digits to denote the year in dates, as in the 6th. Oh, this is an American date. Why? You're part American. Why do you do this? You put the month first, then the date of the year.
Don't do this. This makes no sense.
Yeah, thank you. Can you write home and tell people?
Fix it, please.
Yeah, fix it. Gosh. Okay, so the 15th of June, 1998 would be, well, according to Americans, it'd be listed as 061598.
Yeah.
Okay. Rather than 06151998.
Yeah.
Okay. Trouble is, when the computer's clock strikes 2000, the math can get screwy. Date-based equations like 98 minus 97 equals 1 suddenly become 00 minus 97 equals negative 97.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay. That can prompt some computers to do the wrong thing and others stop doing anything at all. So the real concern here was that the core of most computer programming was built into it a fatal flaw.
Yeah.
And it might have been very small, but we thought we'd found the Achilles heel of the computing programming world. Come that midnight switchover, all of our computers would just freak the hell out, not know what to do with that date change. This dropping of 2 digits saved 2 bytes of data, which was a massive boost for early systems. So we're going back to a time when any little bit of storage space was a huge bonus.
Yeah.
We
were dealing in much smaller
exactly
sizes, yeah.
Exactly. So it made perfect sense. This slack number prep led to concern that computers around the world would simply find it too damn hard to figure out the date and just shut down, leading to banking collapses, planes falling out of the sky, cats and dogs living together,
Mass hysteria.
Collingwood, don't take my line! I had a really fun... Edit that out. I'm going back. All right, let's just rewind it. Cats and dogs living together, Collingwood winning the premiership, mass panic and hysteria. Damn it, James!
You said it in the wrong order. The cats and dogs living together has to go at the end.
Oh, no, because the punchline there is that Collingwood winning a premiership is the worst thing that could have happened.
That's why I jumped in.
Okay.
Quoting Ghostbusters.
What a letdown. This episode had such promise. Even Leonard Spock Nimoy hosted and narrated a documentary which aired in the United States.
Rest in peace.
Prince Leonard Nimoy. There's a couple of them. Yeah. Who else should we bring up that passed away recently?
It's getting really down right now.
I know, right? Yeah. So, well, let me go on. Let me talk about what he thought might have happened. Okay. So Leonard Nimoy hosted that show, talking about all the pitfalls and horrors that could occur into the new millennium. Media and tabloid magazines were pushing similar stories, and even Silverchair was screaming to us about the year 2000. It was a terrifying...
After you in the year 2000.
And then the robot president leader or whatever in the film clip. It was
wow.
Freaking terrifying.
Memories.
It was a terrifying and confusing time, James. But while we laugh at it now, at the idea of dates being slightly out... and most sources I read agree that the worst that might have happened is that old computer systems might have just assumed that the year 00 meant 1900 as
going back in time.
Exactly. Well, the 19 was actually built deeper into the hard drive memory because that would never change as far as they were thinking.
Yeah.
So the 00 would change to 01 and then 02. So that's processing power.
Yeah.
That would change. Yeah. But the hysteria that came about from this led to doomsday prepping, gun sales went berserk, canned food, beards, flannelette. They were all must-have items all of a sudden.
So beards. I'm going to buy beards. Did you say beards or beer?
Beards. Well, both,
Okay.
really. I mean, make sure you buy your beer in a tin. And stay tuned next week for our special beer episode.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
We'll get to that. Spock was asking questions like, do you have 3 weeks of fresh water? Do you own a flashlight? People were quitting their jobs and joining doomsday cults. This is all... Younger listeners listening to this might be going, come on, this wasn't real. This wasn't this much hysteria. It was on the news like every night leading up to New Year's Eve, wasn't it? It was... You remember the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Crazy time.
Yeah. This isn't us embellishing or hoaxing. People genuinely thought
they were freaking out.
Yeah. Planes were going to fall out of the sky.
Anybody that wasn't freaking out
Yep.
Anybody else is just kind of like, I don't actually know what to expect now.
Probably won't happen.
Probably are just a little bit dubious and just kind of.
There are lots of people that are good at computers out there, so it's probably going to be fine. And then the moment of truth arrived. The ball dropped, and I was sent to bed because I was 12. But nothing major happened. Things did happen, and I will list them for comedic effect a little bit later. But no doomsday happened. A lot of bearded men, right? A lot of bearded men in holes were forced to crawl out and beg for their jobs back. The true heroes were the armies of IT workers who were feverishly updating lines of code across the world. That's right. That guy in Office Space saved the world. Do you remember that movie, Office Space? Yeah. That was what his job was.
If you could just go ahead and fix Y2K for me, that'd be great.
That'd be great. Excuse me, that's my stapler. It's one of the funniest characters in the movies. And he just burns the office down. Oh, spoiler alert. Sorry for that movie.
That's old. That's okay.
For that movie that came out in 98. But seriously, nothing happened. Most of the worst case scenarios that did happen are actually really funny in hindsight. So there's a YouTuber called Nostalgia Nerd who's got a great video. Highly recommend you check it out. Or maybe not after this because I'm going to spoil it. But he talks about the Millennium Bug and Y2K, and he actually lists 10 things that actually did happen and have been linked back to faulty computer systems as a result of Y2K.
Okay.
Are you ready to hear some of them?
Brilliant.
Number 1, the U.S. Naval Observatory website. That's the official timepiece for the armed forces.
Okay.
So the Army, Air Force, Navy all go by this one standardized clock. It listed the date as 19100.
Brilliant.
Disaster! Panic,
so
mass
there was
hysteria.
2 separate bits. The 19
and then the 100.
To the 99. Yeah,
That's right. It is the year 19,100.
Brilliant.
Yep. Japan's small plane flight information service failed.
Okay.
So no planes fell out of the sky. We just couldn't get the bookings quite right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's annoying.
My booking is 100 years old now, apparently, according to the computer.
There's some of these coming up. Don't make jokes. In Australia, our bus ticket machines failed. They just didn't work.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's a miracle in my eyes because that implies that they were actually working beforehand.
So...
Nah, mate, it's not working. Just get on. All right, thanks, mate. I deliberately used an old ticket a lot. Just That's how they sounded. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
The Chicago Federal Reserve Bank couldn't transfer $700,000 in tax payments, so they waited till the next day, and it worked perfectly.
Give it a day, mate. She'll be
Give
right.
it a day. She'll be right. That's it. People in the Netherlands using Apple banking products couldn't post-date their transfers. Okay. I know that's mildly annoying. 7 nuclear reactors went into meltdown. No, actually, sorry, they had support issues, IT support problems.
Okay.
So, but they were fine.
No meltdowns.
No, nothing happened. No. It was just a couple of people in an office, probably ringing a few other people in other offices, going, our spreadsheets aren't opening.
Oh, okay.
How annoying, though, James. The year 3900 was listed on Hotmail and Internet Explorer. Again, I'm amazed because that implies that something about Internet Explorer was working as well. A customer at it wasn't Blockbuster. It was New York State Video Rental.
Oh, okay. Close competitor.
Close competitor.
Almost took the market.
Oh, a vicious rivalry, you know. And then Netflix came.
You're always one or the other. You're Coke or you're Pepsi. You're Hungry Jack's. You're McDonald's. You're Blockbuster or
New York State Video Rental. So this customer was given a bill of $91,250.
Okay.
Right, for renting The General's Daughter, a John Travolta film.
Oh, okay.
Because the computer system said they rented the film 100 years ago.
Who would keep the movie that long?
All right. Now, that was number 9. Number 10, the only one that genuinely could have been an issue here, right? Now, a US spy satellite sent back mangled data for like 3 days. That could be an issue if spy satellites are getting messed up, right? They designated the cause of the mangled data was a patch designed to avoid Millennium Bug issues.
Well,
slow clap, everyone, for NASA. Well done.
Brilliant.
So honestly, we laugh about all this sort of stuff, but
some of those, there was some issue, this was a reason for concern. Things did happen as a result.
But most people looking back agree that no, there was never going to be a doomsday. There's going to be a lot of mild inconveniences, though. The worst case scenarios that I've been able to find, and this is all in retrospect, bear in mind, people saying that really, realistically, computers might have thought the year was 1900.
Yeah.
And no computer back then was smart enough to have an existential crisis and go, wait, I shouldn't exist in the year 1900, and then just drop the plane it's controlling out of the sky. That was never going to happen. Computers were just going to click to 00 and start at 01, then 02, 02.
Go again.
That was,
do another round.
That's it. So, but there were armies of IT workers all around the world trying to combat the issue.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know how they solved it in Russia?
Go on.
So remember I talked before about how internally they programmed the 19?
Yeah, yep.
They dug deeper into the hard drive and changed that to a 20.
What?
You know, it's like that old thing about NASA tried to invent a pen that worked in space and the Soviets brought a pencil. Just, yeah.
But actually, it's true. Just a false story.
False story. That's absolutely true. NASA did bring pencils into space.
Well, no, they stopped bringing pencils because pencils are just a bad idea.
Really?
The graphite breaks off and gets inside, floats around and gets inside the mechanics and
there you
messes
go.
everything up. And it's very conductive, I think, as well.
It would be.
Yeah. So,
it'd be like holding up a sword in a lightning storm on a wet mountaintop.
Exactly right.
After you've defeated
if you've managed
a dungeon.
to climb up the mountain.
After you've found one of those things. What were the animals? 900 of them?
The Koroks, yeah.
Oh, what a terrible game. James, have I convinced you that Y2K, the Millennium Bug, the year 2000, all the hype, we spent about 2 years of our young lives dreading New Year's Eve, not knowing what was going to come. Should we be in a bunker? Should we stockpiling food? And then nothing happens. Is that the biggest letdown in history?
It's a pretty massive letdown.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, letdown might not be the right word. Maybe relief might be a better word, but...
Yeah, I mean, it was overhyped.
Yes, massively overhyped.
We were just like, this is going to happen. It's going to be end of the world type level stuff here. It just, it just wasn't.
Oh, my bus ticket's not working. Just get on, mate. Just get on. It's not working. So New Year's Eve anyway. It's free service. Just get on.
I'm convinced.
Good to hear.
But I'll throw it to the audience. Are you convinced by our arguments? Do you think, if you've played it, well, maybe you haven't played it. Maybe you just listen to me. Do you think Breath of the Wild sounds like it was overhyped?
Were you listening to this on iTunes on your way to JB Hi-Fi right now, about to go and buy this game? And you're now going, I've made a terrible mistake.
Maybe not.
Maybe I'm going to go buy Battlefront 2 instead.
Maybe.
Don't do that either, from what I understand.
Massive letdown.
Ah, what a letdown.
Were you kind of hoping that Y2K would have caused a bit more chaos?
just a cool story to tell. You know? We lived through it, and there's nothing worth telling people about, James.
What's something that you were looking forward to but didn't quite live up to your expectations? Please let us know in the comments or on our social media accounts.
Have you had a sports team lose dramatically in a final?
You just missed it again.
Have I? What have I? Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. I was committed to not.
You know what? He's not doing this intentionally. This isn't a running gag.
It's not a running gag. I just keep doing this.
Let us know in the comments or on our social media accounts, Damon.
Which are Twitter and Instagram at Are You Convinced? Search for us on Facebook, Are You Convinced? Or just go straight to the URL, www.facebook.com/areyouconvinced.podcast.
Yeah, if you're enjoying the podcast, if you're on iTunes, please leave us a review. That really helps us out a lot.
Absolutely.
It means a lot to us. If you're enjoying it, please do that.
Oh, we've got some big news to share with the listeners here, James, haven't we?
So episode 10, it's a big one. We thought we'd mark the occasion.
By asking you for money.
We've been having a lot of fun doing this podcast, and we understand that a lot of you have been enjoying it. We love hearing your feedback. We've started a Patreon, pretty much. So unfortunately it's not free to run this thing.
No.
And to keep going long term, which we would absolutely love to do.
I've had to sell a kidney.
Yeah, well, that's how we got the mics.
I'm never getting that back.
So, we sold both because there's one mic per kidney, right?
Oh, God. Oh, no wonder I feel so terrible today. Shouldn't have drank that scotch before I came here either. That's not doing me any good.
No, that was a terrible idea. We do have a Patreon. It is patreon.com/areyouconvinced. If you want to if you've been enjoying the podcast, you want to throw a few dollars our way, we'd be greatly appreciative.
And we are honestly, seriously talking $1 a month, $2 a month.
It just goes a long way to keeping this podcast going. It'd mean the absolute world to us. We're figuring out Patreon just now for the first time for ourselves.
It's bewildering.
We're going to figure out rewards, I guess, and we want to improve things and make things better. Maybe get some merchandise for
sure,
nice mug with "Are You Convinced" written on the side.
Should just be our faces on the mug. With no context provided.
Maybe if you throw $1 our way and you can suggest the design for the mug.
Sure, yeah, you can design a T-shirt for us. We'll work
out some awesome rewards for you guys.
That's right.
For donating money, but that is patreon.com/areyouconvinced.
We're looking into putting in some interesting hidden bonus content for
next week off of that we're going to do a very special episode. We're going to have hopefully, if with any luck, there'll be some video footage for you guys to watch for this episode as well.
Yeah, we're a little nervous on that because all of James's computing equipment
we'll see how it
goes up to the year 1999 and we're worried about how it's going to tick over.
So this argument is completely one-sided.
That's right.
Damon,
I'm basically going to spend all of next week's episode trying to convince James that there is a beer out there in the world for him.
Because I don't like beer.
No.
I'm not a beer drinker.
It confuses me. Every time you say those words, I get really confused and slightly agitated. I don't know what you're talking about.
So next week, you're not going to hear from me pitching anything to Damon. The whole episode is Damon pitching to me. The beer is good. There'll be drinking of beer.
There will be drinking of beer.
If the video footage goes up, you'll see all the disgusted faces that I make. So stay tuned. That is next week, the beer episode.
That's right. It should be fun. Should be a little bit different formatting. Should be some headaches. Should be fun. But yeah.
On that note, let's wrap things up. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. We've reached episode 10.
Yay!
Woo!
Woo! Huge achievement.
We'll continue to hopefully not let you down in the future.
That's right. Shout out to our pet listener, Mishka. You go, you crazy cool cat, you.
We hope you're enjoying it. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Hope you all enjoyed this week's episode. And convince your friends.
Convince your family. Convince your pets.
Please do. And stay tuned. Tune in next week and we'll catch you then.
See you guys. Bye.